over a brand new poll from Emerson College polling, which looked at several of the key swing states in the 2024 election and a matchup between Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris, and looking at how they compare to Emerson's prior poll from earlier in July, and just kind of giving a snapshot of where things stand right now. So this poll came out today, July 25th. This video will be coming out tomorrow on July 26th, but I am recording this July 25th, the day before. This poll just came out, and it's going over several of the key swing states, and I'm going to go over this poll right now for you. In the state of Arizona, Donald Trump leads Kamala Harris with 49% to Harris's 44%. Georgia, Trump leads Harris 48% to 46%. Michigan, Trump is up 46 to 45% over Harris. And Pennsylvania, Trump leads Harris 48% to 46%. And in Wisconsin, it is a tie with 47% for Trump to 47% for Harris. So first things first, there are a few takeaways from this poll. For one, Trump is either leading in every swing state or he's tied in the state of Wisconsin. So a good silver lining for Trump is that Trump is at least leaning in all these states. But there is some bad news for Trump as well, though, which is things have gotten a lot closer in a lot of these states compared to the prior poll. There is the July swing state polls that Emerson did a few weeks ago now that came out. They did the poll around July 15th and July 16th. And in that poll, Trump led Harris in Arizona, Trump led Biden, in Arizona 47 to 40, a 7-point swing. Compare that now, 49-44, Trump leads now by 5 points. So not a massive improvement for Harris in Arizona over Biden. Arizona right now is probably, in this poll, Trump's strongest swing state. So Trump has not really lost any support in Arizona, and actually Trump has gained support in Arizona, but Harris has got back some of those voters that were not supporting Biden. Now we look at Georgia, where Trump has 48%, Harris has 46%. Georgia, Trump had 47, and then Biden had 41. So again, 47-41. Now we look now. Trump has gone up by 1%, but Harris has gone up to 46. She's gone up 5% from where Biden is. And this is kind of agreeing with what I said in my video yesterday, which is Trump support has not really changed. If anything, Trump support is either the same or it's gone up a bit. But Kamala Harris is able to get a lot of these Democratic voters and independent voters who probably were leaning towards voting Biden, but didn't really want to feel comfortable saying it because they didn't view him as a very strong candidate to go up against Trump. And now that she's in the race and not Biden, we're seeing a lot of this Democratic support come back to Harris, and now this looks like, on paper, to be a much closer race than Trump versus Biden was becoming. Now, of course, this is all happening very, very quickly. We don't know what the election will look like 3 months from now. Will these numbers stay the same? Will Trump start doing better? Will Harris's numbers fade? That's a possibility. Will this stay the same and continue to be a very close race? That is also a possibility. We're going to have to watch and wait and see. But at very least, Harris has gained back a lot of Democratic support and is making this a closer race than Trump versus Biden was for the last month. And now the state of Michigan, Trump is at 46%, Harris is at 45%. Let's look at it. Trump was at 45% in Michigan, Biden was at 42%. So this one actually, there's not a ton of change. There's about, maybe Trump has gone up, again, 46%. Trump was at 45%, so 1% gain for Trump. Harris is at 42, or Biden was at 42, now Harris is at 45. So Harris got some of the Democratic support base back. Michigan is still very similar in that there's still a lot of undecided vote. There's 9% undecided vote. Trump and Harris both not getting close to 50% of the vote yet. Michigan's going to come down to the wire and probably be one of the closest margins of victory for Trump or Harris, depending on who wins that state. Pennsylvania, I think this is very, very important for Trump, that Trump is leading in Pennsylvania. 48% to 46% for Harris. Let's go back. Actually, North Carolina, I don't believe is in this poll, so we're just going to skip over North Carolina. Nevada is also not in this poll, so we're going to skip over Nevada. But Pennsylvania, Trump had 48%, Biden had 43%. Now Trump still has 48%, but Harris has 46%. So again, this poll shows that Trump did not lose any support, but Harris gained a lot of support that Biden had lost, which is why on paper it's looking like this is a much closer race. Where at the end of the day, a lot of the voters who weren't going to vote for Biden probably were going to vote for him anyway, but now we're just seeing that reflected in polling data that this race is still, right now at least, becoming more and more close. How close, we're not sure. We're going to have to wait and see. Every poll you have to take at a grain of salt because it doesn't always translate exactly to how the election goes. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the margin of victory translates, but the numbers themselves don't. So there's always like grains of salt to take away from polls, but at very least, Trump is still leading in Pennsylvania, a state that is absolutely crucial to his pathway to victory. That is good news for Trump. The only bad news is Harris has seemed to win back a lot of the Democratic support that Biden has lost. And lastly, in the state of Wisconsin, where Trump is 47%, Harris is 47%, and in the last poll in July, Trump had 48 and Biden had 43. So again, Harris has won back a lot of the Democratic vote and undecided vote that Biden had lost, while Trump's support has remained the same. So what does this mean? Looking at these numbers, what exactly do they mean? Well, if we take it to the electoral map, the biggest one was Trump plus 5 in Arizona. So that would put Trump at 246 electoral votes. Definitely a good start for Trump. Now we go back. Georgia, Trump is up 2 points. Again, go to the electoral map, give Trump Georgia. That gets Trump to 262. All Trump needs to do is win one more of the remaining Rust Belt states, and he would win the presidential election. In the state of Michigan, only 1%, super close, but in this poll, Trump is leading there. That gets Trump to 277. And we look at Pennsylvania, 48-46 in favor of Trump. Trump is leading. Trump wins Pennsylvania. That gets Trump to 296. The state of Wisconsin is an exact tie, so we can't assign that to either candidate. And the state of Nevada was not polled in this poll, but every poll so far has shown Trump has been leading that state. So if that were to be the case, even though the polls have gotten closer of Trump versus Harris than Trump versus Biden were, Trump still leads the electoral map in almost the exact same way in the final days of Biden's campaign, where Trump was probably getting close. Let's say Trump is able to win Wisconsin over Harris. Donald Trump 312, Harris 226. This is about what we were expecting to happen between Trump versus Biden. So Kamala Harris's support has definitely gone up. It's almost like she got a lot of the Democratic support back, and she's definitely improved in the margins. But even if Trump wins these states by only 1% of the vote, the electoral map still looks the same, and that Trump is still winning. He's still at least winning one or two of the Rust Belt states, and he's winning Georgia, maybe winning Arizona and Nevada. That gives Trump a credible pathway to victory. Now, the question is, it's no doubt Trump's support is remaining the same in these states. It's also no doubt, at least in the few polls we've seen so far, Harris's support is going up in these states. The question will be, does that support continue to happen, or does Harris's support start to go down? If that support for Harris starts to happen, it's not inconceivable that Harris could jump Trump in these polls, especially in the states where it's very close. Arizona, I actually think Trump's at 49%, Harris is at 44%. I think being so close to 49%, I think Trump is probably all right in Arizona. It wouldn't exactly shock me if Harris won the state, but I think Trump is doing pretty well there, that I think he'll probably be fine, at least on this poll. But in Michigan, for example, 46 to 45, 9% of voters that are undecided in this poll. So it wouldn't surprise me if Harris is able to win Michigan, especially if she were to choose, say, Gretchen Whitmer or Josh Shapiro as her running mate, get some Rust Belt appeal there, and flip the state of Michigan. That wouldn't surprise me. And in this poll, she's already tied with Donald Trump in the state of Wisconsin. Again, 47-47. Is it possible Harris could improve in these numbers, come in, and then narrowly win the state of Wisconsin? That's certainly possible. Now Trump's at 287, Harris is at 251. Trump is still winning, but it definitely could be possible. And they look at Pennsylvania, 48-46. I think Trump right now is narrowly favored to win this state, especially when you go down in the poll. They talk about what the voters care about the most. Pennsylvania is 50% economy, and I definitely think economy typically favors Donald Trump over Biden and Harris. So I think these numbers are very good sign for Trump and how people care about so much about these issues. Immigration, 30 and 25% economy in Arizona definitely helps out Trump. But Pennsylvania being 50% economy, I definitely think would be enough to help out Trump. For Trump to lose, though, Harris would have to find a way to win Pennsylvania. And this is where the map gets really tricky, because Harris has to win all three of these, in my view, to win the election. At least in my the scenarios I've done the most, I think it's the most common way. It's possible that Trump could win the state of Pennsylvania and then Harris could try and win Nevada and try to win Arizona, but Trump would still win. He would still get 270, which is why I think we're going to see in the coming days and weeks, Harris is going to make a big target out of the state of Georgia. 16 electoral votes. It's a state that Joe Biden won in 2020 over Trump very, very closely. I have no doubt in my mind Harris and the Democrats are going to redouble their efforts in trying to make Georgia a competitive state. Because as I've done a lot of these scenarios, the most common one and the easiest one I see is Trump winning Georgia and winning Pennsylvania, and that gets him to 270. If Harris, which Georgia I believe closes very early in the night, it's either at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m., if Harris is able to come in and win the state of Georgia, that does cut off one very big path of Trump's potential victory. Because Trump winning Georgia and Pennsylvania, two of the bigger Electoral College toss-up state numbers, that does give Harris an advantage. Because then if Harris can win Pennsylvania and take that away from Trump, that's 261. At this point, the ball is now in Kamala Harris's court, where all she needs to do is win one of Michigan or Wisconsin to win the election. She wins Wisconsin, Harris wins. Maybe Trump wins Wisconsin. Okay, Harris wins Michigan, which is already polling very, very close. So Trump, just as Georgia is crucial to Trump's pathway to victory, it may also be more crucial to Harris's pathway to victory. If she's able to win the state of Georgia, it's not inconceivable to think that Harris might be winning this election. Of course, though, the polls up until this point have showed Trump has been doing very well in Georgia, and I don't think Trump and his campaign are going to kind of let Harris just come into Georgia and try and take that state away from them. I think Georgia is going to become very important. I think Trump is the lead right now, but it's absolutely a state to watch. So, I mean, when you look at this poll that I've gone over in this video, you have to ask the question, does Kamala Harris being in the race really change things drastically? And it's a question I've thought about back and forth for a few days now, and I think it both changes the race and also doesn't change the race. It changes the race in the fact that Kamala Harris is doing much better among Democrats and perhaps Democratic-leaning independents than Biden did. So it makes the polls and everything look a lot closer than they've been between Trump versus Biden. There was no question in the coming days, Trump was absolutely trouncing Biden in almost every single poll, and that's one of the reasons the Democratic Party wanted to get rid of Joe Biden as the top of the Democratic ticket, is they knew if nothing changed, Trump was probably going to demolish him in the election. But now Harris being on the ticket seems to have a new growth of support for Democrats, where the Democratic base is more rejuvenized and energetic going into this election and feel like they have a very real chance of winning. The only thing is, as I've shown in this poll and in other polls, Donald Trump's support hasn't gone anywhere. Trump's support is the exact same, but now it's the Democratic base has also come back. So we're kind of in the square camps of the Democrats are going to get at least this 45, 46, 47% of the vote. Republicans are going to get this 45, 46, 47, 48% of the vote. And now it comes down to this percent in gray, the 7% undecideds. These are going to decide the election. The people who have not been vocally supporting Trump or Harris, these are going to be the people that decide the election. But that really wasn't too different from what the election was a few weeks ago between Trump versus Biden. Because yes, even though Trump was leading in every single swing state, as I mentioned at the time, none of the candidates were getting above 50% of the vote. Neither candidate got above 50%. The highest Trump got, and I believe in this poll, was 48%. So there was always enough undecided votes for the Democrat candidate to come in and win the election. There's also enough undecided votes for Trump just to win a few of them and get over 50%, and he would win the election. So things from that standpoint really don't change. It's still going to come down to a very close electoral map where all the states that I have in gray are going to be the states that decide who wins the election and who doesn't. Similar to most elections, though, we're looking for what stands out. If early on in election night, if Trump is, say, winning the state of Georgia by 10 points or something, and then he's in the likely column in Georgia, that might be a sign of maybe voters on election day are breaking very heavily for Trump, and that may give him a very good feeling that he may be able to win Pennsylvania, and that would get him the election. If Harris early on is 50-50 with Trump in Georgia, or even wins the state of Georgia, that might be a sign of, okay, perhaps this isn't going as well for Trump as he probably hoped, and he's in very real danger of losing a state like Michigan or a state like Pennsylvania, and then Trump has to start looking in the map like, okay, at this point Harris is going to win. Is there a Democratic state I can pick off to try and like make up for that? Can Trump come in and try and make Minnesota red or Virginia red to counterbalance Michigan and Pennsylvania? These are the types of conversations that happen in campaign headquarters on election night when maybe things are not going a certain candidate's way. Now, of course, we don't know how any of these will go until election night, but these are the types of things you have to think about if you're especially planning a campaign, or if you're trying to like see how your candidate wins. You have to look at the paths and say, if this happens, then what? If Georgia goes blue, what does Trump do? If Georgia goes red, what does Harris do? What's the next pivot point? Eventually, you're going to get late in the night and run out of pivot points, and then you just have to accept the election went your way or didn't. But at very least, I don't think this election has changed a ton, other than the states that we thought would be the ones to decide the election will still decide the election. But now there's a lot more solid Democratic support for Harris than there was for Biden. But it's still going to come down to the undecided independent voters to decide who wins, Trump or Harris. That has not changed. So, in closing, it's kind of like the more things change, the more they stay the same. Independent voters will still decide the election. It's just now the polls seem to suggest a closer race. But on paper, things have not really changed that much, and that Trump's support has not gone anywhere. Harris's support has gone up, but her support has not been enough to really overtake Trump yet. It's maybe enough to tie it or come close to overtaking him, but she has not overtaken Trump's support yet. So this election is going to be very, very close right now. The question is how things will develop from now until November. So that'll do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to give the video a like and hit subscribe to my channel if you have not yet done so. This is your first time watching one of my videos. I make videos like this every single day, so I really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel to watch them when they come out. Thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you in a future video.